Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to an EverQuest lore video. As a matter of fact, before we continue, I'd first like to give a synopsis of the deities that we have been introduced to thus far. So let's quickly begin with Veeshan, and here's from the EverQuest lore wiki a description of the goddess. Veeshan, goddess of sky and mother of all dragons and dragonkin. Veeshan was the first of the known deities to take notice of Norrath and deposit her children there. All right, we covered that thus far. She is also known as the Worm Queen, the crystalline dragon, and the mother of all worms, and rules the plane of sky, though no one has ever been known to have actually seen her there. Now, this is quite true because we do visit the plane of sky, but Veeshan is never present in her own plane. And so that's quite peculiar, and I'll give my thoughts on that surely as we go. But continuing on. Very early in Norrath's history, Veeshan deposited the first brood of dragons on Norrath, marking the frozen continent of Velius with her gargantuan claws, forming the great canyons known as the Scars of Veeshan, before moving on to claim other worlds. Alright, so that's a very important point to make too, because there are other worlds within the EverQuest universe other than Norrath, and there are other deities than the deities worshipped on Norrath, and we will get into that as we get further into the lore. These are all concepts that are expounded upon in later expansions. One thing to note about Veeshan is we do see a giant depiction of a deceased Veeshan after the events of the Plane of Time raids. And we will get into that most definitely when we get into the Planes of Power expansion, and then expansions later we'll be able to discuss, and I'll share the screenshots and we'll get into all of that. But let's continue. Her claim to Norrath was soon challenged, however, by Brel Cerulus and a coalition of gods, including Tuner Prixus and to a limited extent Ralo Zek. So this is something we also read, who all created their own mortal races to take the dominance of the young world away from the dragons, a mission in which they were largely successful. So it sounds like a little bit of jealousy, sounds like a little bit of envy, sounds like a little bit of, you know, the gods trying to one up each other, or not allowing one to have an advantage or leverage over the other. We will learn as we delve deeper in the lore that the aspect of being worshipped in Norrath increases a god's divine powers. And so in order to become more powerful than the other gods, perhaps this is the reason why they compete over creations and followers and dominance over planets that they didn't even create. They didn't create the planets, but having devout followers may have some value that is unbeknownst to the inhabitants of Norrath and beyond. Despite the interference with her prismatic dragon Keraphim, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Let's go back. Despite the interference with her claim on Norrath, the Worm Queen was not heard from directly again until the Draconic War sparked by the mad prismatic dragon Keraphim. Keraphim is also known as the Sleeper. We first introduced to this prismatic dragon in the Velius expansion, and we will get to that also in later videos, but we're going to stay focused and on topic. The devastating consequences of this war prompted Veeshan to issue a decree to her priests forbidding two dragons of different colors from mating in order to prevent another prismatic from ever being created again. Other than this incident, there has been no there has been no confirmed contact with the Worm Queen since she first visited to Norrath. So she's a very enigmatic figure, as many of the gods are. to their creations.